Priyanshu?
Yes, we are live.
Okay. Dikshita, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
We are good to go then.
Yeah.
Okay. I
So
think
good evening, everyone. Yes, Dikshita.
I just wanted to ask Priyanshu, has the share screen been
Yes,
enabled?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll just share the screen then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. So good evening, everyone. This is Meenakshi, your host for today's webinar. And I, on behalf of the entire Enajuri team, would like to welcome all of you for today's session. I can see a lot of new names. That's really nice. So we have a lot of regular faces, but also a lot of new people joining in. So welcome everyone to the platform. And before we begin, I would like to quickly take you through the work of Enajuri. So Enajuri is basically a not-for-profit platform. And the idea has been primarily during the pandemic, we have been trying to engage and, conduct this series of webinars where we have, invited speakers who have been working on a range of issues and subject matters, who have people who have been striving for social change, leadership building, entrepreneurship, and other such ventures across Assam and the Northeast. So in the last few months, we have been engaging through virtual media and inviting speakers. And the basic idea here has been to, develop some kind of a knowledge platform where we exchange ideas, where we talk about different ventures started by young people. And so every Sunday, I and my co-host, who's unfortunately not present with us today, Pooja, we have been hosting a session on education. And in the last few weeks, we have been trying to touch upon pertinent issues related to the subject matter of education. And primarily, this is because, education has been one of the sectors that has been really hard hit by the pandemic. A time perhaps which was absolutely unprecedented, and we have hence tried to have discussions on a range of issues, starting from primary education, digital learning, grassroots initiatives of education, and likewise, also in the past, we have discussed and deliberated elaborately on the national education policy. We had a panel discussion on the national education policy, which has at least attempted to, bring some kind of a paradigm shift in the education sector. And we've basically tried to read between the lines of the policy and look at how far it would be possible as far as implementation of the policy is concerned. So, while it has been, I mean, we've had these discussions, and most of our discussions have been rooted at the level of policy and intervention. We also have realized that it is, of utmost importance to be discussing the psychosocial implications of this current time that we are all grappling with, the sudden shift of, both teaching learning, the teaching learning shift that has occurred in a post-pandemic world. And as we are all trying to grapple and cope with this new reality, we have realized that it is of utmost importance to be talking of the psychosocial implications of this shift. And I mean, of course, there has been some talk as far as mental health in a world of digital education is concerned, but there needs to be perhaps more reflection on what could be the short as well as the long-term implications of the pandemic, with, closure of schools, lack of play activities, and so on and so forth. And today's discussion, we would hence not just be focusing on how this has actually been impacting on children, but also we will try to look at it from a much more holistic and a much more multidimensional approach, as far as also because teachers are also equally grappling with this new reality. Their teaching skills are being put to question. So we will try to look at all these issues. And while most of these, issues that have been bothering us, while a lot of these questions and the dilemmas and the conundrums that we're currently facing, we may not necessarily be having an immediate answer to most of these questions. I think it is also nonetheless very important to engage in these discussions and, deliberate on these matters. So we are very fortunate to be having amongst us today Ms. Dikshita Chaudhary, who's a lecturer of psychology and a co-founder of an initiative called Untangle that aims to mold and train individuals, especially adolescents and young adults, for a balanced life. Ms. Chaudhary has completed her undergraduation in psychology from Indraprastha College, Delhi University, and further went on to complete her master's in psychology from SNDT Women's University, Mumbai. She also has a degree in B.Ed, and her passion to work in the education sector grew more rapidly when she joined an organization called New Horizons in Mumbai. While working there, she realized that there are so many diverse kinds of learners and such varying methods of connecting to this field. She has since then been passionate and intrigued by the study of human behavior and processes related to learning and exploring. So I will now hand over the session to Dikshita, and we will, I mean, the structure, we don't have a very, formal or a very rigid structure as such. We try to keep it very flexible, but the first half an hour to 45 minutes will allow the speaker to share her thoughts and deliberate on the issue. And then we'll have an open house where you can, ask your questions. You can unmute yourself and directly ask your questions. My only request is that we'll keep our audios and videos off so that there's no distraction in between. So over to you, Dikshita. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Meenakshi. Thank you for such a warm welcome. My heartfelt gratitude goes to the team of Enerjory for inviting me for today's session, and also to the audience who has taken out time and they want to hear me out on such a pertinent issue that we are dealing with in the education sector. Today's topic, Blackboard to Screen, if we look at it from a very categorical perspective, it has impacted a lot of people in the society. And when I say a lot of people, I mean especially the stakeholders in the education sector, the parents, especially the educators, and also we cannot forget the learners. I'm not going to use the term students here because that becomes very school and college oriented, but I'm going to talk about how this whole transition has impacted learners. It can be someone as small as a toddler to someone who's doing their PhD. So, Blackboard to Screen, understanding the psychosocial implications is what I'm going to talk about in today's session. The first, I'm just breaking it up so that people can get a clarity. The first 15 to 20 minutes, I will be speaking about the different perspectives that have come into light from the educator perspective, from a learner perspective, from parental perspective. Then I move on to something known as the new online pedagogy, which has brought in a lot of changes in our society. And I will also be talking about what is the hue and cry about the virtual system of education. Why is there so much anxiety? Why is there so much inability to cope up with the system? And more so, I will be talking about solution-centric methods. So moving on, before I begin the session, I want to throw some light on what is exactly psychosocial. The term itself has an interaction of two words, psychology and the social environment that we live in. When we say psychosocial, it indicates the interaction between one's environment. When I say environment, I don't only mean trees, lakes, or something like that, but I mean the interaction between our internal self and our external self. Our internal self is made up of all the values that we hold dear to ourselves, and the external environment is made up of every component that we have interacted in our life. It can be our family setup, it can be our educational environment, and it can go on to other environments that we have interacted in. Cultural. So, if we look at this terminology, cultural, the first thing that may come up to our minds is that the way we dress, the kind of food we eat, or the kind of rules or regulations we follow, like code of conduct. But when I say cultural from the teaching perspective, what I would like to tell my audience is that when I walk into the classroom, I don't look at students, or I don't look at learners from the perspective of, what he or she is wearing, or the way she or he is behaving. What I look at is how can I bring equality to my class space? And for doing that, we need a different approach. We need a more broader outlook. And this is only be possible if we are cognizant of all the components that exist in the environment. We take into consideration every little thing that exists in the environment. Then only we can bring up a culture which is free from bias, discrimination, and same like that. Social influences. We cannot deny the impact of social influences because we live in a society where we have to follow certain norms, we have to follow certain way of conduct, and we cannot deny those aspects and talk about the psychosocial aspects without it. We have to take into consideration the social influences, and these three interact upon psychological outcomes. So what is actually psychological? It is basically the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we behave. So if we look at this slide for just for a minute and think about it, it is about all the components in the environment that have an interaction upon how we are thinking, how we are feeling, and how we are behaving. And we cannot ignore this aspect. We just cannot ignore this aspect and talk about digital learning or talk about moving into a space which is so impersonal in nature. We have to give importance to this aspect if we think and if we are thinking of the well-being of our society, if we are thinking of the well-being of our next generation. And it does not matter whether we are talking about resource access or we are talking about things like, okay, my child goes to this particular school or that particular school, irrespective of where the learner is, what is the medium. This balance is very important for educational success. And this is what I have learned in my whole experience of teaching and learning, my experience of interacting with students, and my interaction with parents also. Moving on, the next three slides are going to be about certain perspective. And this is very practical oriented. And this is what I have learned from my classes, from my work in the field. And this is what I bring to you today. So first is connectivity. So many of us sitting here would think that, okay, maybe talking about internet connection or something like that. But what I want to stress here is connectivity is not only about having a laptop or a smartphone or having the internet connection. But what I want to stress here is that if you want your classes to be successful, you have to bring in some kind of connection into your classes. And how do we do that? We can do that when we talk about engagement, when we talk about approaches which are positivistic in nature and which can bring up some constructive methods to the learning environment or to the educational environment. And moving on, the second important point, kinesthetics. Kinesthetics is basically the sensory awareness that we have from the environment. And if I have to look back in the last 4 to 6 months, this has surely been hampered and this has surely been compromised at some level. Kinesthetics is an important component when we talk about the teaching learning process. And if we have to go to lower grades classes like 4, 5, 6, 7, kinesthetics is an important component even in when teachers are planning their lessons or when teachers are delivering in the classroom. We cannot ignore this fact. Socialization. From a student perspective, socialization is highly important because if we are talking about living in the society, if we go back to our first slide of psychosocial balance, we have to give importance to socialization, processes of socialization, methods of socialization. How do we keep it going? So when we talk about socialization, this also in a way is compromised today. This also in a way is getting hampered. And this perspective is basically from students who have underwent online classes or who have interacted in a virtual space. Even if we don't consider that, in a normal physical classroom, these points are very, very important. In any educational environment, to be successful, these points are very, very important. The fourth point that I'm talking about here is motivation. Motivation is, I would say, the crux of a teaching environment, the crux of an educational environment, because if the learner is not eager to learn, if the learner is not wanting to know more about the methods of, acquiring knowledge, then there is no point of conducting a whole session for 45, 50 minutes. And somewhere, because we are losing out on the personal contact in virtual medium of education, motivation level of learners have also been highly impacted. And also, I would like to point out here one point is motivation has highly impacted those students who have not even access, those learners who have not even gotten access to an educational environment in the last 4 to 6 months because of the pandemic. So this transition may look very simple. Okay, it may look very simple to us. We have a laptop, we have a smartphone, we come into our rooms, we close our doors, and we take classes for 45, 50 minutes. But what about those students who do not have any access to those resources? We need to really think about it, because how do we motivate those children to come back to the classroom when they have not even been in touch with books or any kind of learning material in the last 4 to 6 months? So this is going to have a huge impact on their social behavior, on their psychological uh, demeanor in the educational environment. Feedback feedback, I would say, it's the pinnacle of an educational environment, because feedback brings a lot of clarity. And if a student is giving me feedback, or if a student is giving me some sort of an insight into my teaching methods or my approach, I get a chance to understand my weaknesses and my strengths. That is why I say that bringing in feedback to the classroom is an important part of the education system. And today, somewhere, those of you in the audience who have accessed online methods of teaching or attending classrooms, be it Google Classroom, Zoom, WebEx, anything, maybe there are areas where you can actually share feedback. But if we have to look at from a broader perspective, even this has gotten hugely impacted in the education system. What can I do if my student is not switching on their audios or their videos? How do I deal with that? Even if I'm asking the student 10 times, have you understood, am I clear? If they don't switch on their audios, if they don't switch on their videos, then how am I supposed to progress? So that is a question that comes from my end. And also, students feel that maybe they are unable to share the feedback the way they would have shared in a physical space in the classroom. Moving on, educator perspective, this is completely coming out of practical experience in the last 4 to 6 months. And I feel that these are the points that need to be taken care of when we are talking about the virtual system of education. And we have to take care from the point of view that, if you want the classes to solidify, if you want the learning processes to move on a smoother scale, we need to take care of these points. So the first point, when I talk about from an educator perspective, anyone who is a teacher or anyone who is an educator in the audience may agree with me that engagement of learners is very, very important. Because for an educator to talk about her methods of teaching or sharing knowledge with the students, how do I engage the learners? How do I engage the learners in a virtual system of education? Is my question. And I have dealt with batches where I have about 50 students in the classroom. 50 students in the classroom, and some of them I can't even see in the whole screen. It became highly difficult for me. So what I did was I used to divide the groups into 10, and there would be 5 groups, and I would take up the same topic repeatedly over the week. It is a lot of work upon me, but I guess what is more important is that my knowledge gets shared and I can access the students on a smaller scale. So if I have a group of 10, at least I can interact better than having a group of 50. So engagement of learners is an issue in the virtual system of education, and we need to find methods of how we can resolve this. Task of delivery. If you are able to engage the class, the second important step is, how do I deliver? Am I delivering it well or not? are my students listening? Because most of the time students put their audios and videos off, and that is a technical issue because like how we've all done, put our audios and videos off today except for mine, uh, because there's a lot of disturbance, there's a lot of technical errors that can come up. So sometimes it becomes an issue where students are not unable to hear me, or they are not able to ask me questions because they can't maybe access the chat box. All these kind of issues have happened. So the task of delivery is also getting hampered somewhere because I start questioning myself that am I doing it right? Is this the right method? There have been a lot of trial and error from my end when I was taking classes for my students. So if we are on right track with engagement and task of delivery, then we go on to clarity. There will be clarity in a classroom only when we can engage our learners and we can deliver well. But if these two things get compromised, which I think is getting compromised in the virtual system of education, the clarity is also getting reduced. Clarity of what to do, what is next, how do I go about this process is impacting educators as well as learners. The fourth point here, cyber safety. I'm bringing this up because I have personally gone through, where my classes were, there was a lot of, disturbance in the class. I have heard stories from my colleagues or my, friends who are in this field, where they have said that there was a lot of disturbance. Some explicit content was suddenly shown on the classroom. Then there was a lot of scribbling that has happened, and you don't know from where this is coming on. You're taking the class of 40-45 minutes. Should I be concentrating on that, or should I be concentrating on delivery? So there is a lot of, I would say, a moderation required when you are taking an online class. Feedback, again, like the student, from the student perspective, equally from the educator perspective, feedback is very important. So feedback, if feedback is not there, then it's very difficult for the educator to progress. So we need to talk about feedback, we need to talk about methods of how we can gain more feedback in the system. So all these factors do impact an educator or a teacher or a professor's overall functioning in the system of education. Lastly, I would like to talk about one of the most important stakeholders in the education system, the parents. So I have spoken to many parents in the past 6 months, and this is what I could gather from their perspective. What has changed in their outlook? Is it something very different, or is it similar to what it was before the month of March? So first thing that parents are really telling me is that they are very concerned about ensuring the education progress of the child. So be it a parent from any strata of the society, he or she will be concerned because they're putting so much of time, they're putting in so much of effort, so much of their resources to ensure that the child is with in the field at a very steady pace. There is progress going on. So because of this issue that you are concerned about your child's educational progress, some parents become over involved with the child. And what is over involvement? Over involvement is when you are actually crossing your parental boundary and coming into the child's space of learning or the learner's space of learning. It's a shout out to parents that please don't do that. Over involvement is equally harmful like under involvement. So we need to find a balance. And I know it is difficult at this time when you have to juggle so many things. You may have daily hassles. There are management issues that go on from, say, time management to managing family members to finding, resources to sustain. There might be a death in the family. There might be someone suffering from COVID, the virus. We don't know, but I know for sure that parents are juggling a lot, and especially educator parents are also juggling a lot. And there are households where you have more number of family and less number of resources. So if you see that there is a family of 6 or family of 7, maybe there are only 2 laptops in the household and both parents are working from home. How do you manage that? That has also become a pressing issue in today's time. So we have to find constructive solutions. Parents have to come forward, and they should also be talking about the issues. And I feel schools or education institutes should take the parental perspective into account and see what can be done, because there are many parents who are actually suffering from a lot of juggle, and some of them don't even know how to maybe start the laptop, open Google Classroom, or go online from via Zoom. This is a reality. So we need to get talking about these aspects. So moving on a little bit into the session, what I would like to highlight here is this is known as the new online pedagogy. But let's look at this slide a little bit, in detail. Is it really new? Like, except for the pointer that I have here is flexibility. What is so new about this system? What is so new about accessibility? What is so new about affordability or learning methods and tools? If I have to talk about accessibility, even if we didn't have the pandemic situation, there are so many people out there in our country where do not have access to basic education. When I say basic education, I mean till the class of 8th grade. They don't have access, they don't have resources. Because of that, they cannot afford the education. And there is a section of parents, or there's a section of people who are trying very hard to put their children into the cream layer of school. So there is always this juggle that keeps on going around. And when we talk about learning methods and tools, here I would like to highlight that, yeah, there has been some form of changes that we had to adapt. I saw the other day there was this news that was viral, where the one educator was using the refrigerator screen to show her children doing her calculations and sums and something like that. Yes, we have to adapt, we have to become more creative if we have to sustain this system. But what's so new about this system? Accessibility has always been a question in our country. Affordability is always an issue. Learning methods and tools, till today, has anything been changed? Lecture method is still used. Lecture method is still being used in the learning environment, even virtually. So what is so new apart from the fact that it's flexibility? We can sit in the comfort of our homes or beds and do our classes, or interact with our teachers. I feel, let's ponder. So this is what I came to when I was actually making the whole agenda for this session. And these are two thoughts that came across my mind. And I wanted to ask everybody here, and this is what I would like to talk about today more specifically. What is missing in the virtual system of education? What is the hue and cry about? Why is the government thinking about reopening schools even in situation where we don't even have the vaccine? We Parents are scared. I have had interaction with parents where parents have told me upfront they don't want to send their children to school until and unless the vaccine is out. So do we wait till then, or what do we do? So government is utterly confused, because according to the government, uh, there's a section of students who have not received any form of education, but there is one section who has gained a lot. So there are pros, there are cons. But having said that, what is actually missing in the virtual system of education, and how is it impacting one's learning process? This is what I would like to discuss, because I personally feel, because I have gone through this process from day one when lockdown was suddenly announced to till today. I am teaching via the online method. I'm using the virtual space to connect to my students. But this is what I want to highlight for today's session. So I'm going a little technical. Uh, Meenakshi told me that this session needs to be a little bilingual. So maybe I'll use Assamese here and there. So আমি যেতিয়া এটা ক্লাছৰুমলৈ যাওঁ, বা when we step into a classroom, and this is I think all educators will agree that এটা চিষ্টেমত আমি কাম কৰোঁ, whether syllabus বনোৱাৰ পৰা আৰম্ভ কৰাৰ পৰা ক্লাছ লোৱালে আমি এই তিনটা এলিমেন্ট আমি একদম এনেকুৱাকে আমি প্ৰজেক্ট কৰোঁ that there is a balance. So any educator or any any person who is attached to the educational system will agree with me that these are the three elements of learning. এই তিনটা আমি importance দিবই লাগিব, whether we are making a syllabus, whether we are interacting in the classroom space, or whether we are just teaching. এই তিনটা element বিৰাট বেছি দৰকাৰী। So প্ৰথম element to হল cognitive. So what is cognitive? From the psychological point of view, cognitive is higher order mental skills. Higher order mental skills like decision making, problem solving, thinking, bhaba, then being able to reason logically, বস্তুবোৰ কৰা, সেইখিনি আমি skill আমাৰ কেতিয়া develop হয় when we have the higher order mental processing in place. And cognitive or pisot, the next important component, which all of us maybe sometime we overlook. আমি ইমান গুৰুত্ব নিদো সেই component to, which is affective. Affective or meaning to whole emotion. ভাৱনা বা কেনেকুৱা আমি সেই বস্তুটো লৈ আমি কেনেকুৱা feel কৰিছো. That is very important in the learning process. And lastly, psychomotor. A term to লোৱা হৈছে psychology আৰু motor মানে movement, coordination. So why is this important? Eto kyo important hoy? Eto important hoy because we need to build our skills. So whatever we are learning in the educational environment, whatever we are learning, be it like I said, 3-year toddler to someone to a PhD kori ase, psychomotor মানে skill খিনি আমি যাতে apply কৰিব পাৰো fieldত. So এই তিনিটা আমি মনত ৰাখি পেলাই, let's move on and see what is the hue and cry about the virtual system of education. Cognitive মানে like I said, ekita point বিৰাট important হয়. So আমি যেটা lesson plan এটা বনাও বা আমি plan of the day or we go into the classroom, we talk about these points: remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, creativity. Remembering মানে হল recall, যে আমি এটা বস্তু পঢ়িলো, আমাৰ মনলে হেতু বস্তু আহিলে. Understanding is comprehension. আমি যিখিনি বস্তু শিকিলো সেইখিনি আমি মনৰ ভিতৰত ভালকে সোমাব পাৰো বা আমি ভালকে সেই বস্তুটো লিখিব পাৰো, হেতু হল understanding. Applying, analyzing, evaluating, creativity. এইখিনি আহিব যেতিয়া remembering or understanding হ'ব. So if we look at this particular slide, some people may question me that this is not something new. I agree, this is not something new, but what we need to understand is how far this has been applied to the virtual system of education. How far, where are we when we talk about the cognitive skills of learning? So I would say 80% is being covered in the virtual system of education because I am taking classes. There are many schools, many universities who have come up with certain platforms where we can, take care of the cognitive aspect. We have Google Classroom, we have the apps where students can come in. We have the class. The students can be given assignments. They can be given activities. Yes, this aspect has been taken care of. And somewhere we see that some students are also creative in their delivery. But what I feel and what I suggest is that the affective component is not at all taken care of. And the psychomotor aspect is also somewhere dissolved. Why am I saying this? Is because when we interact or when there is a communication at a virtual space, যেটা আমি বহো, প্ৰথম কথা আমি ইটো সিটো হেনেকে দেখা নাপাওঁ যেনেকে আমি ক্লাছৰুম এটা দেখা পাম. So like today, receiving phenomena মানে মই যিখিনি কৈ আছো সেইখিনি মানুহখিনিয়ে বুজি পাইছে নে নাই আৰু ৰেসপন্ড কৰিব নে নাই, সেই বস্তুটো is lacking in the virtual system of education because, like I said, there are students who do not even care to switch on their audios or their videos. They stay mute the entire time. And some students I know maybe are not even sitting in the class. They've just switched on their platform and they just left. So receiving phenomena and responding to phenomena will only occur when we have the contact with a person, when we know the tone of the voice, when we know how it is being said or how we are thinking of delivering it. This is very, very important. So receiving and responding to phenomena is an issue in the virtual system of education. And if these two things do not happen, then obviously valuing, organization also get hampered. Valuing মানে যদি এটা বস্তু আমি ভালকে নিশিকো আমি কেতিয়াও হেতুৰ মূল্যটো কেতিয়াও বুজি নাপাম. So valuing, when we talk about from a child perspective, or we talk from a teenage perspective or adolescent, will only come when they have understood the phenomena, they have received it, and they can respond. Hey bostutu, somewhere it is missing. And if you don't have valuing, keto organization nohobo. Organization in terms of having a routine, maybe having a planned activity or a planned day of how to go about this particular topic. Into somewhere this is getting missed in the virtual system of education. Next, I move on to psychomotor. Psychomotor, the ultimate aim of psychomotor is building the skills. So first thing, if we have to build a skill, or if we have to think about applying our knowledge, we have to perceive it. So it is somewhere similar to receiving a phenomenon, but perception is your ability to understand signals from the environment. So perception leads to your readiness to act. So if you understand, if you perceive, if you know the signals, you can move on to act. So acting or being able to perform in the classroom can only be done when there is a little bit of movement, there is a little bit of coordination, and these skills can only be built when we have the psychomotor aspect in place. So when a child performs, there will be a guided response which will come from the educator's end, because if the child shows some level of performance or some level of delivery, then guided response will automatically be there from the educator's perspective. So guided response will obviously lead to overt response. What is overt response? It is basically, in psychology we have covert and overt. Overt is something যোনটো আমি দেখা পাও, covert is what we cannot see, যোনটো আমি একেবাৰে দেখা নাপাও. These are inside of us. This can only come out যেটা আমি কিবা activity বা কিবা আমি we say something, or we behave, or we think in a certain way. So overt response is given a lot of importance in psychomotor because it is all about movement, coordination. ল'ৰা ছোৱালীয়ে ক্লাছ 45 minutes এটা ক্লাছত বহি থাকিলে যোনটো এটা পৰিৱেশ ফিজিকেল ক্লাছৰুমত হয়, সেইটোত ল'ৰা ছোৱালীয়ে এপিনে গ'ল সেইপিনে গ'ল কাবাক মাতিলে সেইবোৰ হয়. In a virtual classroom they cannot do that. They are unable to do that. So somewhere there is sluggishness that is coming in, there's a lot of drowsiness that is coming in, there is sleepiness in the classroom. There are reports where students have put on a lot of weight, there is obesity on the rise. So when we talk about these aspects which we can see, it's a little sad because we have been pushed to the brim where we have to adapt. And but having said that, at the same time we need to find solutions. We need to bring original solutions. We need to be creative about the whole situation. So I feel the psychomotor aspect and the affective aspect are somewhere getting compromised, dissolved, and they are not being reflected very well in the virtual space of education, be it in the school environment, be it in an college level environment, or be it anyone who is doing any kind of course, an adult also. So this applies to everybody. Now, moving on, this is what caught my attention. It's a newspaper cutout from a leading newspaper. This survey was done about 25 days ago. And when we look at the observation side, it is quite stark because about 70% of the population is undergoing all these behavioral changes, all these issues. Like I just said, sleepiness, there is decrease in activity, there is a complaint of itchiness in the eyes, screen time, the blue light is really harmful for all of us. There is a talk about gaining weight, obesity. This is all about people who have these are reported by parents who have children who have undergone the whole online system of education. So it is quite stressful to see this, and it's quite scary if we have to look at these figures. Behavioral changes, about 80 to 85% parents feel that their children have started showing behavioral changes. Their learners have started showing behavioral changes because of the online system of education. So I call them red flags. These are some of the pointers which I need to point out in today's session. Nearly 3 in 10 parents feel that their learner is undergoing some kind of emotional or mental harm. And when we talk about mental uh, the mental health, or when we talk about the mental aspect, many of us just feel that it is only about depression, it is only about suicide, it's only about anxiety. But there is a plethora which is much more larger than this. And when I say the plethora is larger than these, I am talking about the smaller aspects which we forget, the psychosocial aspects that we forget in life, and we just ignore and we move on. That has put a lot of harm in most of these students, most of the learners, where this aspect has totally been not taken care of. So, experiencing emotional or mental harm, this is a study which was done in California, obviously, because in India, researches are still going on. We've not come out to a lot of figures, but this is a study done in California. There is a rise in young people. This is a small Indian study that was done, anxiety and depression during the pandemic. And only because this study, spoke about the online methods of teaching, spoke about the change from offline to online, and also about those students who could not go to school, are still unable to go to school. And like I said, there has been a report of suicide also in some parts of the country. So these are red flags, and we need to be it's high time. I think we need to wake up and we need to get talking about constructive methods. Just saying that the transition to offline to online is not going to work out. We need to talk about constructive solutions. We need to talk about pointers which will help us to grow in this situation. Because if we ask any parent today, parents are not ready to send their children to the education environment. So if we continue this method of teaching or this method of learning, there are so many elements that we are missing out, which ultimately will lead to a devastating consequence on our young generation's mental health. So this is something that I have observed also. So I would like to say warning signs of emotional distress. So the emotive component, the affective component of the teaching process is so important that if this is missed, then these are some of the behavioral consequences that we might see. Atypical behavior can be like becoming irritable. Is your child becoming irritable, short tempered, stops responding? There is a display of anxiety before class, after class. Whatever is being reported, you should take into consideration. Unusual behavior, if you as a parent, also an educator or a sibling, you see that there is disruption in the home environment, there is disruption maybe in the classroom, the teacher calls you the next day and tells you that the child really disturbed the class today, there is something very wrong about him or her today, what do we do about it? So unusual behavior, disruptive, confused, seems out of touch with reality. And definitely if these behaviors are noticed, there will be a performance decline, there will be a hampering in the quality of work, there will be some compromise in the quality of work, and most students will not turn in. These are some of the consequences if a child or if a learner is undergoing a socio-emotional crisis or psychosocial crisis because of the online method. Because there are certain elements that are not being taken care of, these are some signs that we can see. Consequences. So when we talk about the psychosocial implications, we cannot forget about certain patterns that exist in our daily life. So definitely there will be there have been reports of sleep habits or patterns being reported which are getting erratic, and children are unable to sleep because, again, screen time, it is very, very harmful. It ultimately damages some of the cells in our brain, and the brain is unable to process a lot of information. So erratic sleep habits or patterns, so if that is disrupted, automatically there will be a loss of routine, and there will definitely be a move towards uncertainty, which will lead to lack of planning and low on confidence skills. This has happened in my classroom environment also, where I had to call up the student and talk to him or her for about a good 1 2 hours and explain that what you can do about and how you can go about the whole process. So there have been reports which are reported about missing their social groups. Obviously, why do we send our children, or why do we go to a school environment or an education environment? Because we want to be a part of social groups. We miss our friends, we miss our peers, we miss the social elements in the environment. So that also has been compromised. And there are these are students who have told me that assignments, sometimes they find it very very tough, sometimes they find it very very easy. So there are students who can actually adapt very quickly and do it, but there are students who do not understand it in one go. We need to find out we need to find out what is wrong. We need to talk about it with maybe our colleagues. We need to find solutions of if the student is not unable to submit or something like that. Concentration issues, this I think has happened to everyone. I think even people who are working from home, we cannot just talk about children here, but educators, everybody is having a lot of concentration issues, because if we look from the educator perspective, for 40 to 45 minutes we have to keep on speaking and generating content in the classroom. When we are in the physical space, maybe we take a break, maybe we just let we can talk about something else for the day, or if we are not in the mood of reading or writing. But in the virtual medium, it becomes really difficult, because we are using so much of our own internet usage is there. There's a lot of time and resources involved. We cannot do that. We cannot bring that culture into the virtual system of education. So concentration issues are on rise, and loss of purposeful conversation with teachers. So students have reported that the way they would talk to a teacher in the classroom, maybe that is not possible in the virtual environment, because they might feel that someone might hear them, or they might be judged, or things like that in their mind. So the virtual system of education has impacted things which have led us to a picture, or a space where there is a lot of uncertainty, which has led to loss of routine. And here I would like to highlight that the term flexibility in my previous slide of the new online pedagogy, flexibility, I feel, is a myth, because if there is too much flexibility, it ultimately leads to a loss of routine. And when that happens, then we move away from our daily life and daily routine, and everything gets disrupted. So first thing that we need to talk about, we need to take care, even parents, even all of us who are working from home, or we are in the virtual medium of communication, we need to stick to a routine. It's very important, because if we don't do that, then there is a loss of a lot of time, there is a loss of a lot of energy. So moving on, what are the solutions? Now, I would like to talk a little bit about those students who have not received any form of virtual education, or have not even interacted with their teachers for the past 6 months of the pandemic. When I say solutions, we have to take into consideration all of them. We cannot only focus on that strata of the society who have received a virtual medium of communication. We need to talk about solutions which are constructive, which have a meaning, and which are doable. So I think now schools or education institutes, or even at grassroots levels, we need to talk about the soft skills of non-academic soft skills, like just like right now I said about the importance of the affective component in teaching, the psychomotor component. So we need to start training in these aspects, where we train the teachers or the educators on how to deal with receiving a phenomena, responding a phenomena, how to imbibe these values and how to make the class more organized. So we need to set time aside for this aspect. And what I feel right now, if we have to stick to the virtual system of education and the education environments don't open up, then we have to focus on the teaching learning process to be more relational. It cannot be so transactional that we come in, do our 45 minutes of lecture, and we go off. We have to find some time, or we have to find a method of how we can make it more relational. Because what I worry about is those students who did not receive any form of education or did not have not experienced the classroom environment for a very very long time. If you suddenly bring them and start teaching, I think that is not going to be of any help. There might be students who might fizzle out. There might be students who may get dissolved in the whole process. So we need to focus on the teaching learning process to be more relational, which can only come when we talk about the academic soft skills, when we talk about development of these soft skills in the teaching learning system. Then something that we can all navigate and we can all practice in our day to day life is also some amount of mindfulness. So any activity that you like, or any activity that calms you down, or any activity that you enjoy doing, you should be at least taking it out about 10 to 30 minutes in the day to do that. And this is what I always tell my students also, because if you are able to do that, you will be able to navigate over your conflicts, your emotional issues much more securely and much more structurally. That is very, very important. Then I come to number 4, inclusive environment. This is something that I personally am very passionate about. And what I feel is that inclusivity will only come when we start respecting, or when we start creating a space where there is a psychosocial balance. So I go back to my first slide where I said that the environment, the culture, the social influences all play a huge role in the educational system. So if we want to create an inclusive environment, if we want to talk about different learners in the educational system, because this is a time when most students with disability, most people with disability, different kinds of diverse needs population are facing a lot of issue. Maybe it's not reported, maybe we don't read about it, but there are a lot of issues. There are parents who have children with ADHD. There are parents with children with Down syndrome, with autism spectrum disorder. How do we deal with such a plethora of diverse needs is what we need to talk about right now. Because if the educational system is going to be virtual in nature, then it is going to have a huge impact on this segment of the population, because most of them rely on a lot of kinesthetics, which I mentioned in my beginning slide, sensory experiences. They focus a lot on the affective and the psychomotor aspect. So that is getting devalued somewhere, and that is why there are so many issues, pressing issues, and we are not unable to create an inclusive environment. Lastly, what I would like to say here today is that no matter what, however and wherever we are going, or where this approach may lead us to, keeping in view the learner's point of view, be it a student, be it a scholar, or be it anyone in the virtual system of education, we need to talk to them. We need to find out ways of dealing with their issues, and we have to give them that space. Even if your child is in, say, first standard, or even if the child is in pre school, we have to give them the space, because ultimately he or she is the individual. We have to respect that, and we have to talk. If there is an issue, we need to talk about it. We need to find solution. And I'm sure parents who have children and are going to school, I'm sure the school will allow you to go further and talk about your children's issue. So we cannot neglect this aspect of students, their voice and their agency. So having said this, I firmly believe that We can come to a conclusion, we can only come to a solution when we make the teaching learning process more relational. We practice mindfulness, where we take out time to do any activity that is related, that will clear the junk in our mind, or clear give us it will help us declutter our thoughts. Only then can we talk about a more inclusive system of education. So I would like to end my session, where now I open the platform. Meenakshi,
Yeah,
I
thank
would,
you. Thank you, Dikshita.
yes,
That was indeed a very detailed and elaborate talk. I'm pretty
thank
sure
you.
all of us will have a lot of takeaways from today's session. And you have really touched upon some very pertinent points. I mean, what you talked about, the relational aspect of learning instead of a more transactional approach.
Yes,
You touched upon, how it's really important. I mean, while we have been talking of things at a much more broader policy level
right,
intervention perspective, but it's also important to emphasize on the individual. It's really
right.
important to focus not just on the broader level of
Hmm.
issues, but
Hmm.
also on the individual, be it the learner or the teacher. But
Yes,
I was, as you were talking of pedagogy, I had something that struck me. I don't know, you might not necessarily have an immediate answer to my question.
yes.
You talked of pedagogy, and
Did you
Meenakshi,
lose her?
Meenakshi,
hello,
Meenakshi,
can you hear me?
no,
Could you hear me?
no, I was unable to hear you.
I think none of us were able to hear, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying, I mean, you've really touched upon a number of issues, very important, relevant. It's really
Thank
important
you.
to look at the nuances of, these. I mean, we've been talking about things at a much more broader level in terms of policy and intervention, but it's really important to be looking at the individual,
Right.
the perspective of both the learner as well as the teacher. And that is what the crux of your talk was primarily today. So,
Yeah.
I mean, my question, as you were talking of pedagogy, I mean, you may not necessarily have an immediate answer to my question. While we have realized during the pandemic that it's really important to be talking of a pedagogical shift, because now we're emphasizing more on a blended form of learning, or perhaps
Right.
this digital learning that we're emphasizing so much on. But most of these aspects, when we talk of this pedagogical shift, be it inclusivity, be it accessibility, affordability, most of these things, like you mentioned, were always important, even in
Yes.
even in a physical classroom. So
Right.
my question is, how much of this, I mean, I'm talking from my own experience, having
Right.
attended series of webinars. This is the new normal, perhaps.
Right.
This is what we are currently getting to. Webinars, attending webinars and online classes is perhaps what we will have to get used to for the next couple of months or maybe year. Who
Yeah.
knows that? So
Yeah.
my question is, I mean, how much of this, be it democratic processes, making it more participatory, which are very serious, important aspects of pedagogical shift as far as learning is concerned, how much of this would actually be possible when we talk of digital learning? Because even if I were to talk of the National Education Policy 2020,
Right.
the policy also critically emphasizes on the digital learning
Correct.
as something
Yeah.
we will
Yes.
need to emphasize on. But
Right.
I mean, I don't know. There
Yeah.
are a lot of aspects which we will perhaps have to take with a pinch of salt. And I mean, I'm just trying to think aloud. So, what are
Yes.
your thoughts on that? Yeah.
So, like you said, yes, if you read the new education policy, it is directing towards somewhere where we may have to resort to this kind of a teaching learning environment. But like you, even I have two, three questions in my mind is, where is the structure? Where is the structure and where is the infrastructure? Are we really looking at only the cream layer of the educational system? What about the grassroots level schools? What about primary education? That's what I just said. The new online pedagogy slide of mine was talking about these aspects: affordability, accessibility, learning methods and tools. Let's ignore the last two. Let's talk about affordability and accessibility. That is my question. That many people are saying that, okay, we are in this pandemic, but still somewhere we are able to access the learning environment. We are able to afford it, but how much of the population is being able to do that? That is the question. And that's why is there so much hue and cry about the online method of teaching? Because most of the population, especially living in India, in a developing country, is unable to access this system. They are unable to afford this system. Likewise, I think I read a news 2 weeks ago where Jadavpur University was providing about some number of data packs and smartphones to their students. So how many universities will actually do this? If they really want, if you want to survive, if you want to sustain, then we have to think about constructive solutions. We cannot be just writing it on a piece of paper and saying that this is the new education policy, we have to follow this from now. Where's the structure? That's my question. If someone would like to throw light on this, I would definitely be very happy.
Yeah, I mean, Dikshita very rightly pointed out. I mean, this
Yeah.
also leads me to my next question, which is,
Yes.
do you think this would also, in some way, throw more light or more engagement on homeschooling? I mean, there's a lot of talk around homeschooling now, but
Yes.
at the
Yes.
same time, we don't know how to really do it if we were to really consider homeschooling. So do you think this could generate some kind of conversation around homeschooling?
Definitely, I do not disagree with homeschooling, or I will not disagree on this pointer. But again, if I have to think about the last 4 to 6 months, the kind of students with whom I interact with, they come from a background where they can actually, Minakshi, I'm being very honest, they can afford a lot of things in life. But there is still a section which is unable to do that. So homeschooling, if training is provided, if parents are involved in it, then maybe we can think about it. But then uh, nowadays, if we look at middle class societies, upper middle class, we are not talking about classes here, the strata here, but most parents do work out. They go out of the house because life has become so expensive. We need to strive and survive. So if there is homeschooling, there has to be someone guiding. And especially I'm more concerned about the lower sections of the school, because how do we go about homeschooling if we don't even have an elderly person at house? And how do we take up this change is would be my concern. If we are talking about homeschooling, we need that training process. We need it, something that is more practical oriented, something that is going to teach the child, and not just because of the whole atmosphere of say that this is homeschooling. We should not be doing it, I think.
Right, right. Thank you so much. I think I'll open the floor for discussion because we have a lot of
Definitely.
parents and teachers joining us today.
Okay.
So please unmute yourself or raise your hand and you can directly ask our speaker.
Yeah.
Whoever is willing to ask, I mean, you can just unmute yourself and ask a question.
Hello.
Yes, Pam, I can hear you.
Hi. First of all, let me congratulate Ms. Chaudhary. It was a wonderful, excellent presentation, and lots of points she has given to deliberate and debate on. And another thing which I would like to talk about is about the Minakshi, the question she was asking about NEP, where they are
Yes.
talking about virtual classes and all.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, ma'am.
my point on that is it is not a complement, like a supplementary. It's a complementary to what the regular school and should be there. So technology, they are not saying that you replace it with the
Yeah.
physical teaching and all. It is just in support of that you can have, right? And
Right.
definitely
Right.
the lower strata and all, we really need to think about the affordability in this situation, where I feel the solution could be the like when we are talking about homeschooling, it may not be possible in today's world because most of the parents, especially both the parents, are working and having nuclear family. So here we have to really think about the community resources, like what resources can we pull up in that particular community, because there must be someone who is trained, and also if we can pull up the community resources to help the children, because we being a social human being, we cannot replace the human touch and the affective part of teaching. And one more point which I want to add in that is when we are talking about online learning and with so many psychosocial implications which we have on our children, it's very, very important to understand for the teachers that it's not only completing about the syllabus, which we, most of the teachers, most of the students complain when I interact with my students. They complain, ma'am, that all the teachers are just focusing on completing syllabus and talking about examinations and all, and not letting their feelings come out, because when they are confided in the home situation and the boundaries, they are not able to express themselves. No one is there to share their feelings. So it's very, very important to connect with them, relate with them, and which is a very beautiful point and very beautifully explained by Ms. Chaudhary. I really congratulate. It was a wonderful session to attend, and I really wish that all the educators should focus on relation and the affective part of the learning, which is very, very important. Until unless you touch that, you cannot touch the cognitive part. Congratulations to the team. And yes, we have to work out on the solutions, and we have to think about what can we do to, especially those strata where we do not have the access through the technology or the digital way. Thank you so much for providing this platform.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yeah, yeah. Sure, sure. Please go ahead.
To highlight, I'll highlight one point here. Ma'am said about the new education policy. So yes, when we look at it, it is talking about a blended version, and now there is talk going on where we are telling our students to access the massive open learning courses. It's called MOOC and Swayam, which is there as a government initiative. But having said that, some subjects like my subject psychology lacks a lot of content, honestly. Lacks a lot of content, and when I tell my students to go and search or something like that on MOOC or Swayam, they come back and tell me, ma'am, this topic is not there, that topic is not there. So before we actually say that, okay, these are the platforms, this is what we are initiating, we need to look at, again, come back and see where what is the content, where is the structure. So I think if we jump into blended system, definitely it's going to be a progressive solution when if we are for our country. But before that, we need to see the structure.
Absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree. Dikshita, we have a question from one of our participants, audience. The question is, do you feel this pandemic might shed some light on the, technology, bridge the gap in technical literacy? That's a question. Do you think there could be, could you just highlight or elaborate on that?
Definitely. Thank you for the question. When we talk about technology, if we look at it from the point of view of, say, our generation or the generation after, definitely there is going to be a growth in technology literacy. But if we have to go back maybe 2 generations behind or 3 generations behind, there has to be a lot of training provided to that section of society. Why am I saying this? Is because I have colleagues who are much more older to me, and they genuinely face that crisis. They genuinely face that crisis of, oh my god, I have to take an online class, I don't know this, I don't know that, this is coming on my screen. Like, they flutter, they don't know what to do about it, and this is happening because of lack of training. And there are schools who are actually training their teachers. I would say the good schools or maybe the private schools are investing on training their teachers, training their educators on this aspect of technology literacy. But again, I would like to say that there is a big difference. There is a stark difference about reaching out again to the certain section of the population where this is not possible. Maybe if we go 50 kilometers from Guwahati, there will be people who will be using smartphones. There would be people who would be, maybe having these smartphones in hand. But the understanding of the teaching learning process, making it digital, making it virtually accessible, is, I think it's going to be a little far fetched. We have to start working. And also I would like
Working
to
on it,
point
yeah.
out for the person who asked me this question, is that I would not like to say no, that this is not possible or something like that. We are living in a contemporary world. We are living in a society where we have access to so many mediums of communication. I am sure if we work hard as a society, this divide can be somewhere worked upon.
Great.
It is not something
True, true.
unimaginable or undoable.
Right, right. We have another question from Deena Chaudhary.
Yes.
Her question is, do you think this is a good opportunity to work on our education system by introducing specializing subjects like coding or aerospace or science, etc., that will help the interest of the learner?
Yes.
And also, do you think that will, promote some private brands and companies which will perhaps be the norm rather than just an option? Do you think, or perhaps it will also go on to hamper the weaker and the economy, marginalized sections of society, like you just
Yeah.
mentioned? So, do
uh,
you think it is a good time to introduce such?
Yeah, definitely, because if we are borrowing, or if we are delving into this area of coding or learning more technical aspects, like if I bring about psychomotor to this question of Dina's, definitely it has a lot of options. It has a lot of, I would say, scope. And nowadays, if I open Facebook or social media, there are these coding courses which just flash up on my screens. I think people have started working around, because the government has put an indication that this is something that we need to start teaching our next generation, or teaching our children. And definitely, why not? This is a progressive field, and this is something that will make us much more mature in the educational sector. It is going to make us better. If we are better at accuracy, if we are better at implementation, then definitely, why not? We can think about, government can enroll such maybe private organizations or groups of people who can help us with this, even at the grassroots level. I'm not only talking about only one section of society, but even at the grassroots level, or even at, if we go to maybe a village school, why not? We can think about it. It is not something, again, unimaginable or undoable. We can definitely do it.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other question from the audience? If you would like to ask a question, you can do so. Uh, I can see Milind Datta raise his hand. Yeah, Milind, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, this is Milind, and my question to অসমীয়াতে সুধিম দেই।
ঠিক আছে।
তো তো মই এডুকেশ্যন ডিপাৰ্টমেণ্টৰ নহয়, আৰু জেনেৰেলি মানুহ যেতিয়া এডুকেশ্যন পলিচি চলিচিৰ কথা কয়, মোৰ জেনেৰেলি টোপনি আহে, নহ'লে মানে ইণ্টাৰেষ্ট নাই নহয়। কিন্তু ইউ এক্সপ্লেইন ইট ভেৰি ৱেল, আৰু ধুনীয়াকৈ কৈছে। ইটছ এক্সেলেণ্ট ছেশ্যন। অ'কে, আৰু আমি যেতিয়া এই ৱেবিনাৰবোৰ হোষ্ট কৰি আছো, ওৱান থিং আই ৰিয়েলাইজ এণ্ড হেভ চিন is that মানুহবিলাকে এতিয়া education also aligning with their interests. For example, and I hope that will happen.
Yes.
Like, I am working with animal welfare group, and I really think that animal welfare should be connected with primary education.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
And also a part of the school, right? Amar India dimane stray dog animal ase etia ami soku kan bondo kori asu, পঢ়াত পঢ়িবলগীয়া আছে, that we supposed to be live in harmony among tomuk, kintu what we are doing practically is directly opposite of what we are actually reading in book.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I think it should be combined. Similarly, farming. Okay, আজি মোৰ ল'ৰাটা আহিছে, he is actually junior engineer. মই কৈছো মোৰ ঘৰত মাটি আছে, মই কৈছো তোমালোকে আহা, organic farm কৰা, আমাৰ যিখিনি মাটি give us some part and take others.
Right.
আমাৰ ইয়াতে গুৱাহাটীত এটা জাগা যদি খালী থাকে
Oh.
it become প্লাষ্টিকৰ একদম গাৰ্বেজ
Ba
ভৰ্তি
garbage bharti. Oh,
হা
ekdom. I
ইফালে এইবোৰ
agree with
ডক্টৰ
you.
ইঞ্জিনিয়াৰ এডুকেটেড পিপল হা
Oh,
আৰু
definitely.
ৰাতি আহি পেলাই গাৰ্বেজ পেলাই মানে এগেইন doing exactly opposite of what you know you ল'ৰা ছোৱালী কিতাপত যিটো শিকে মাক বাপেকে তাৰ অপজিট কৰি আছে
হয়
আমি of course আমাৰ we deserve this corona we deserve to die so I so এতিয়ালৈকে মই মৰা নাই but I think we all deserve to die because we have been destroying the environment and the other species right so anyway
definitely yes
so আমি education যেতিয়া মানুহে education system টো কৰে আৰু মই I haven't মই অসমত বহুত বছৰ নাছিলো but আহি পেলাই এতিয়া লাগে আমি really education শিকাই আছো নে ল'ৰা ছোৱালী বিলাকক অসমীয়া বাদ দিব কৈছো they take pride that they do not speak Assamese they take pride that সিহঁতি মোৰ ল'ৰাটো এই কণী এটা বইল কৰি খাব নোৱাৰে বা ফ্ৰুট এটা বনাই কাটি খাব নোৱাৰে but they are busy with taking 5-6 tuitions
yes definitely
robot বনাই আছো
একদম ঠিক কথা কৈছে কাৰণ আজি যদি মই আপুনি যিকিটা কথা ক'লে সেইকিটা অলপ হাইলাইট কৰিবলৈ হয় আমাৰ এডুকেশ্যন চিষ্টেমটো somewhere I feel it is flawed কাৰণ আজি যোনটো মই কথা ক'লো psychosocial balance মানুহে জাবৰ পেলাইছে বা people are not realizing that they are dirtying the environment or maybe not doing for the other species in the environment they become so self-centered so selfish সেইটো কিয় হৈছে কাৰণ মানুহে এনভাইৰনমেন্টৰ ফালে চাই বা social influences ফালে চাই বা নিজৰ কালচাৰ খিনি লৈ আপুনি যোনটো কথা ক'লে অসমীয়া কথা পাতিব নোখোজে প্ৰাইড লয় অসমীয়া নাজানো কিয় হৈছে সেইটো বস্তু কাৰণ আমাৰ এই তিনিটা বস্তু ক'বাত হেৰুৱাই গৈছে মই সেইটোৱে কম সেইটোৰ কাৰণে we are thinking very in a very I would say selfish centered thoughts have come into our minds then I would say that our behavior bur he karne iman I would say very demeaning and that is why we are also feeling that way আমাৰ সেই ফিলিং বস্তুটো নোহোৱা হৈ গৈছে আৰু সাইকো সোশ্যাল ব্যালেন্স বুলি ক'লে এই তিনিটা বস্তুৱে এই তিনিটা এলিমেন্টে এই তিনিটা আউটকামত ডাইৰেক্টলি ইনফ্লুয়েন্স কৰে সো আজি যোনটো আপুনি কথা ক'লে pandemic has given us a chance to learn about various things in life so definitely it's a shout out to parents a shout out to elder siblings that please teach your juniors or your children things that are important to life like the value of maybe money the value of planting trees the value of maybe going out and spending time with another animal এইবোৰ আমি কৰিব পাৰো আমি যদি অলপমান ৰুটিনত চলো যিহেতু আমি স্কুললৈ যাব নালাগে আমাৰ হয়তো 2 ঘন্টা দিনটোত সেভ হৈছে ট্ৰাভেলিং যিটো জ্যাম আজিকালি গুৱাহাটী ট্ৰাফিক জ্যাম আমি সেভ কৰি আছো সেই সময়টো সেভ কৰি আমি কি কৰিব পাৰো সো মই মোৰ পাৰ্সোনাল লেভেলত মই সঁচা কথা ক'ব গ'লে মই যোগা শিকিলো কাৰণ মোৰ সদায় শিকিব মন আছিল মই ধুনীয়াকে যোগা কাৰণ মই জানো যে 1 ঘন্টা মই ইউনিভাৰ্চিটিলৈ ট্ৰাভেল কৰিবলৈ ইউজ কৰো আৰু কামিং বেক 1 hour 2 hours I am getting extra so মই অলপ ফিজিক্যাল এক্টিভিটি আনিবলৈ চেষ্টা কৰিলো মোৰ লাইফত so তেনেকে চাব গ'লে I think parents even যোনে হওক আজি they are getting a chance to actually connect back to nature connect back to your internal environment
আৰু মই এইটো ক'ব কৈছো because যাৰ এনিমেলৰ লগত কানেকশ্যন আছে then they can slowly focus on that no
definitely কিয় নহয়
from early age they will know that okay I want to be a veterinarian or I want to be a wildlife যদি কাম কৰিব যোনে কৰিব দুটাই
আৰু আপুনি আজি এটা বহুত ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট কথা এটা ক'লে আজি যে মোৰ ল'ৰাটোৱে এইটো কৰিব নাজানে মোৰ ল'ৰাটোৱে সিটো কৰিব নাজানে this is the time to teach households a family should come forward and teach what is gender equality কেতিয়া আহিব যেতিয়া ল'ৰা ছোৱালীয়ে একে সমানে কাম কৰিব শিকিব কিয় নাজানে ল'ৰাটোৱে হেৰি কৰিবলৈ কিয় নাজানে ছোৱালীজনী এইটো কৰিব মই ল'ৰা ছোৱালী বুলি কোৱা নাই কিয় নাজানে শিকিবতো লাগিব হয় নে নহয় কাৰণ we are living in a society where in the next 1 year or 2 years we may not have even household help how do we survive this will only be possible when we are focusing on learning all the essential things in life আৰু সেইখিনি আমি যদি শিকো আমি ল'ৰা ছোৱালী শিকাব পাৰিম সেইটো তেতিয়াহে আহিব ইকুৱালিটি তেতিয়া আহিব যেতিয়া আমি
we take pride in saying that oh the মোৰ ল'ৰা এইটো বাপৰে নোৱাৰে এইটো কৰিবলে কিয় নোৱাৰে ছোৱালীজনীয়ে কিয় পাৰে this is also another aspect when I say psychosocial balance.
Yeah, this actually, reminds me of something that happened at the initial phase of the lockdown, which is
Yeah.
a lot of men, sharing pictures of them in the kitchen.
Yeah, in the kitchen.
And bragging about it. Yeah,
Yeah,
as if
that
it has been an achievement. And I found it so problematic. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, what you just
it did
talked
not
of.
fit with me because moi bhabu
Totally.
je kyo because you are cooking or you are cleaning the house you put up a selfie for that.
Yeah,
what is so new about it?
New about it, also different about it. Then,
household chores বা household environments, if you do not display ঘৰত যিখিনি বস্তু আমি শিকিম বা যিখিনি বস্তু আমাৰ ডিসপ্লে হ'ব সেইখিনিয়ে তো আমি ল'ৰা ছোৱালীক শিকাম ন সেই বস্তুটো it's high time for everybody to realize that আজি মই সঁচা কথা কৈছো মোৰ এজনী ফ্ৰেণ্ডৰ লগত এটা ইনসিডেন্ট হ'ল where the institute that she works with, I'm taking just 2 minutes maybe, the institute that she works with suddenly called for a webinar, an important webinar on some discussion that they related to work at 8 o'clock at night. And literally her husband created a ruckus that atta bajat keneke meeting rakhibo pare, this is dinner time, this is the time for you to go and cook in the kitchen. Kyo, how is it? They had a massive fight. They had a massive fight,
yes.
and that fight led to her writing to the authorities of her institute that please take into consideration that we have a family, we have to find the balance. So next day school declare korile je 4টা 5টা বজাৰ পিছত webinar নহব কিন্তু we can always think about, this is what I'm saying, flexibility is leading to loss of routine and a loss of other things. So this is somewhere bringing the imbalance in the environment, and which is hampering our mental health.
I mean, the pandemic has definitely, I mean, this pandemic has, there was one question somebody posed, whether this pandemic has actually led us to think of all these important questions. I actually think that has been the case, because it has also made us come out of our comfort zones. It has also helped us, have these difficult conversations, which we should have perhaps had, long back. Because as we are talking of gender equality, I mean, itia bahut khini research hoise India timan hua nai, but ami dekhisu domestic violence cases kiman barhi goise. And then I think of the woman who is also a teacher, who is a mother, and most importantly a caregiver. So while the woman is juggling all these responsibilities, like you mentioned about your friend, she's also going and teaching, then her husband expects her to go and cook, the double and the triple burden of women that we always have talked about in sociology and social sciences.
Exactly.
This has also added on to that burden. China, during the pandemic, domestic violence of course barhisile, but at the same time divorce rates also went high because women started reporting. We do not have reporting of these cases. So it has really flagged off very pertinent questions and uncomfortable things that we have always been grappling with.
Exactly.
And we, as we have this conversation, I mean, is our privileged positions of bohi kotha pati asu. But what about those households where you do not have the space to talk about these things? What about your household help, maybe, who is fighting, undergoing and facing domestic violence every day? Because now you are having to live every day with your perpetrator locked in your house. You have no other option. So good relevant questions were, and then you have to also be at your best when you're in front of the camera teaching your kids, students, and then also managing the homework and assignments and juggling so many other responsibilities as a woman. So it actually, I think, is a very important point for us and a time for us to reflect upon these important questions.
Definitely, Meenakshi. You, to me, ekdom beginning or aji session to khulunte koisila je, this pandemic has led us to certain ways of life, and also eta bostu ami pahori jao je the education environment, the education system has been hard hit by the pandemic. It is not a joke anymore. It is not something to just rub off the shoulder. But to me, jikhini ei matro kothakini kola, it has a direct relationship to the education environment of your child. If you have a child at home, even if you don't have a child, maybe aji moi that I'm an educator. I have to I go to the university to teach, and then I have the other responsibilities at home. সেনেকুৱা মোৰ নিচিনা বহুত আছে and যদি আমি সেই বস্তুটো positively নোৱাৰো, we can't find that right balance, then it is going to immediately impact what we are learning. Because when we talk about education environment, we are not just talking about classroom environment, we are talking about
Exactly. That's
many
very
things.
fun.
We are talking about many things. We are talking about being able to connect. To me, Aji, maybe you are doing a PhD, you might have your responsibilities as a scholar. So hetu bostu we have to take into consideration the broader outlook and not only our classroom.
Absolutely. I mean, exactly to me, Ematro juntu kotha kula. I mean, education is not something just going and taking a class or for a
Yeah.
child, student just to attend the class. It is
Yeah.
much more. It is much more holistic. It is much more broader in that sense. So,
Right.
whatever we have talked of gender equality, and all the other points, in fact, what Milind just mentioned,
Right.
that is what we need to focus on. And yeah, I am a little skeptical of the NEP, but at the same time,
Yes.
maybe it is also an attempt, rather. Yeah, I mean,
Attempt. Yeah,
it
it's
is
an attempt. It's an
towards
attempt.
better things. It is an attempt where we are talking of vocational education, skill building. So let's see. Let's wait and
Let's
see.
see. Yeah, exactly. If the affective and the psychomotor components
Yeah,
are taken into
totally.
consideration in
Consideration.
the
Yeah,
in the new policy.
totally.
So
So let's just give it 5 more minutes for any
yeah,
participant to ask
definitely.
questions. Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
Priyanshu, do we have questions from Facebook?
I think I can see one question.
Yeah, yeah. Please, Jua, just go ahead. Yeah.
How do we start to regain and maintain the teacher children attachment, emotional as well? We had, once the schools open up in this pandemic crisis, digital or online communication has never been possible in a remote and poor place like ours. Very important question, very pertinent, and I am very happy that someone from the audience is actually listening to the whole session and is responding, again receiving and responding phenomena. Very rightly said. This is what has been the highlight of today's session, that we are losing out on the emotional component. We are losing out on the emotional attachment which a teacher and a child may share in a physical classroom. So when we talk about the education environment, when we have to go back to school, or when we have to go back to the education environment, maybe whenever the vaccine comes out, or maybe by December or January, we don't know when. Whenever that happens, this is what I said in my solution slide also, that we have to focus on the teaching aspect, teaching learning process to be more relational. We have to focus on the soft skill development, and that is what I also mentioned, that we cannot just bring students who have not seen the education environment for the past 6 months and just bring them to class and start teaching them math or start teaching them science. We cannot do that. If we do that, it is going to disrupt the whole beginning of the new process of education which is going to happen post pandemic. So I think we have to think about constructive methods. We have to think about every school will have their own policies, they will have their own adaptability structure, be it a government school, be it a private school. But I think this is a point that needs to be taken care of, and I think schools should start working towards it if they are going to reopen. How do we deal with, because now social distancing is going to be a reality, wearing the mask is going to be a reality, not touching each other will be a reality, and maintaining so many other protocols that the COVID virus has given us. It's time to realize and reflect on how we can bring back that attachment in the classroom. So what we can do is we can make the whole teaching learning process more relational. Maybe we don't begin immediately with the content. We can do some activities which the school counselors or psychologists can come together, people working in the mental health arena can come together and think about group-based activities. They can think about solutions which focus on the holistic development of the child. And that is what my initiative Untangle is also going to focus very soon on. So we are focusing on the holistic development of children. We are planning to make customized training sessions, programs, which will ultimately help each strata of a school, be it an adolescent group, a child group, or a little 11, 12 group, or even college level group, to focus on the reattachment of coming back to classroom. So we are working on it. We are in talks with certain schools in Northeast. So we will try to build up that. We are trying.
Okay, we would like to know more of Untangle. We can post on our Facebook page as well as
Yeah.
you progress with your work. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a question from Neera Borkotoki, a very lucid talk, well researched and explicit. My only concern is, are we heading towards social isolation of the child when we talk of digital learning? After all, it can only complement and not replace the school system. Teachers, be ready to equip yourselves to this new world of the new normal. So she's asking
Yeah.
whether this is heading towards social isolation of the child.
Social isolation of the child, if right now, if I have to comment right now what we are going through, yes, there has been a lot of isolation on the parts of the children and the parts of the adolescents. And I have seen adolescents who the parents are unaware. They don't know what their child is actually doing when they come to classroom. And the other day, a parent just called me up and said that, well, what's the syllabus for this is a 19-year-old I'm talking about. What is the syllabus of this semester? How do I make him study or make her study? It was quite overwhelming for me, because a 19-20-year-old child should be aware of what the syllabus is, and what is the new content that is being taught in the new semester. But how this is related to the isolation part is that, because we are unable to emote, we are unable to bring the affective component in our classroom because of certain structural difficulties. This is heading towards somewhere where we talk about social isolation, where we talk about differences among students in terms of the new protocols that they have to follow, like I said, social distancing, not being able to touch each other, not being able to talk in the normal way that we would have otherwise, form groups, sit down, things like that. So if I go back to the first slide of my session, social influences, it is going to hamper our thinking, our feeling, our behavior. So yeah, we need to start thinking about this aspect as educators, that whether we would be facing social isolation or not, and if we are facing, how do we deal with it, how do we go about it. And I think it's high time schools and education environments, they need to be prepared. They need to be prepared that these children or these adolescents or young adults are coming out of their homes after 6 to 8 months. If we are reopening maybe next month in October, we need to start preparing ourselves. Even as educators, we need to start preparing. It's going to be a different environment, and social isolation is something that we need to start working upon. So it's a shout out to parents also, that build activities at home where you can involve your child in social centric activities. Maybe you can do maybe say I would say maybe a video call with friends, or make them do some activity where they revive, because it's important for them to revive, because some may have
Or
even
who can
forgotten.
connect. Yeah.
Even some people, some children, this toddlers might have even forgotten their friends faces.
Friends,
It's
yeah.
possible, because they haven't seen them, they haven't interacted. So yeah, definitely. And this is going to impact the lower grades of the school to a larger extent, the toddlers, the 1 2 3 section kids.
Uh, any more questions from our participants before we finally wrap up? Priyanshu, any more
No,
questions on Facebook?
we don't have any questions from chat box or Facebook.
Okay. So maybe we will wrap up the session for the day. Thank you once again on behalf of the team. Thank you, Dikshita. It has really been a great session, a lot of takeaways from today's session. And we hope to stay connected. Thank you to all the participants, audience, for joining us today. And we have sessions on education every Sunday. We have a very interesting session next Sunday on education amidst the pandemic, and particularly focusing on children with special needs. We have somebody from Shisu Sarati coming next Sunday and joining us. So we hope you will stay connected with us for the future webinars. So once again, on behalf of the Energy team, thank you, Dikshita, so much. And thank
Thank
to
you
all
so
our
much.
participants.
Thank you for
We
having
hope to stay
us.
connected.
Yes, yes, definitely. And people who are interested can visit our website, untangle.org.
Yes.
I have a co-founder with me, Padmini Barwa. She could not be with us today, but she's also an educator working with a school in Gujarat. So definitely, I think we can talk more on this and we can think about
We
more
will share all
sessions.
the details
Yeah,
on our Facebook
yes,
page, which share
definitely.
your details on the
Yes,
Facebook page.
yes,
Yeah.
sure.
Thank
I
you so
will.
much. Stay
Thank you,
safe.
Meenakshi.
Bye.
Thank you, Energy.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you, audience.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.